Welcome to Living a Life by Design. It's the journey back to you and living 365 days of purpose with your host, Esther Graham. Did you know your accountability and possibility is by design? God designed a phenomenal life for you, gave you the gift of choice. Esther helps empower you to discover and pursue the purpose that is already in you. Are you ready to look at yourself and see your future? Then get back to what is really important in life and get in alignment with your true self. Stay tuned to Living a Life by Design. Journey back to you and start living 365 days of purpose with your host, Esther Graham. It all starts now.
Welcome everyone to Living a Life by Design, living 365 days of purpose. And today there's several reasons that I am so super excited. Number one, it is International Women's Day. So cheers to every woman that God has created and put on this planet to live 365 days of purpose. All of you. Every last one of you, because you are still here, you have got a purpose on this earth, and you are standing on, let's say, the backs of your ancestors, for those women who went on even before you and have done great things. And here is what's also wonderful. You also have the responsibility to celebrate and promote the younger generation, right? So they can live 365 days of purpose. So they could learn exactly what their life by design is, because for each and every one of us, it looks different. And I think the most important thing is that we make a decision that no matter what, we will live our lives according to our purpose, our individual purpose, especially once we discover what it is. So today, I have a very special guest, Dr. Pam Perry, who is a phenomenal publicist. She has been on over, I want to say, 500 talk shows, TV shows, radio shows. She hosts her own podcast. She is about promoting women. She is about making sure that they shine and they get out there and they use their voice to speak their truth and the truth. Both, right? And so I'm so super excited. I'm going to have her reintroduce herself, but everyone, please welcome Dr. Perry. Make sure that you're loving her up in the chat. And when you see me, by the way, looking down, that's because I'm checking Facebook, I'm checking Instagram, I am checking the chat. But trust me, I'm in tune to the conversation. So let's talk. Dr. Perry, please introduce yourself again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Esther. Oh my God, this is great. So it is International Women's Day. So I want to give homage to my mom, who passed in 2019. This is a picture of her, probably like about maybe 17 or 18 years old. And, I don't know if you can kind of see the resemblance there, but she really looks more like my daughter than she does me. So I wanted for Connie Hunt, give homage to her for International Women's Day. I always have this over here so I can look at it and see her, but I know she's looking down on us and just kind of like saying, hey, you're doing a good job. So thank you so much for having me today. And also want to give a shout out to a friend that we both know and how we met. Alicia Houston. She was a cover girl for Speakers Magazine a while back, which is what I published. And so I love really promoting other voices, especially speakers and speakers and authors, those that have something to say. I've been a publicist about 3 decades or so, and I really enjoy PR. It has changed so much. It changes faster every single day. I really enjoy people say, you've always wanted to be into PR, not necessarily PR, but I was always promoting, was always helping to amplify others, and then also was always marketing, because I love really marketing and lemonade stands from way back in the day. So the PAM, promoting, amplifying, marketing, that's kind of like what I am.
Yeah, I love it. Promoting, amplifying, and marketing. Pam, I love it. I love it. Listen, I had the privilege with Dr. Alicia, with Alicia Houston, who's on Speaker Magazine, to be in that magazine as well. And it was a great experience. What I love about what you do, Dr. Pam, is that you are very much a promoter of women. You want to make sure, and as you said, especially when the woman says, I have something to say,
Yes.
you're that person that's saying, let me amplify you.
Mm-hmm.
Let
Exactly.
me make you shine. I want you to speak a little bit about that, especially since this is International Women Day, and we speak a lot to women all the time. But sometimes, we sit back, we hide, we don't use our voice, because of the different things that we may have experienced.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? And so, and I think you're that person that really says, no, I'm going to pull this out of you and let's look at what looks good. And so I guess let's first go back to how you got into it completely and what that's done for you in your journey and how you're always pulling women out.
Yeah, the main thing too, women have always said, "Oh, you shouldn't toot your own horn." And my thing is, if you don't toot your horn, who's going to toot it for you, right?
Exactly.
It's like,
Exactly.
so you got to let people know what it is that you do. And really, one of the main things, I grew up next door to what I would say like a young lady. Her name is Kim Jordan. She was a child prodigy. She could play the piano at like the age of 3. No lessons. And I just wanted everyone to know about her. And she happened to be my pastor's daughter,
Yeah.
and Reverend Jordan. And so really living next door to them was, I would say, like that was just kind of like divine that God would have us. But I didn't have the singing gift. I didn't have the playing gift. I didn't have the other type of gifts, that the teaching gift, any of that. But I had the gift of promotion, right? I could tell other people about what someone else who I think is really great. And that's how it really started. I mean, we would have, I'm from Detroit, from Motown. So back in the day when Motown was really like big and that kind of thing, we would have little things in the backyard where we would pretend like we were Dinah Ross and the Supremes, or any of the Temptation groups, right? So that was kind of like where we would charge people money, and I would get
Yeah.
people to pay money to come to the backyard to hear us sing on a record, before karaoke, right? I don't know if anybody
Yeah.
remembers that. So that was really the start of it. So in order to get a crowd there, to get people there, you have to tell them. And you have to promote it in such a way and position in such a way. You've got to do flyers. You got to make things look good. You have to have the right sound. You got to, maybe once they're there, then to sell them up into other things. Maybe they can have cookies and Kool-Aid or whatever. So it was always the brainchild of me of doing that. I can just remember that from being very young,
Yeah.
very, very young. And then continue to do that in high school, even continue to do that in college. In college, I worked at the radio station, I worked at the newspaper. And then when I got out of school, I worked for the newspaper, and I worked in advertising, worked for PR agencies and things like that. So it was always a natural, but I always loved authors and speakers because I knew that those are the people that make an impact on other people.
Yeah.
And that was for me because I lived next door to a speaker who was a
Right.
preacher.
Right, 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 right. And so in that journey with how you began, first it started with you, right? And I think that's so important for everyone that's listening. There's always something inside of you, and many times we may say, well, I don't know what it is, but it's there. It's
Mhm,
always been there. And
mhm.
so it's just now discovering it and maybe going back and looking, what was my love? What is my passion? Or what did I really like? What is it that I stand for? So, with you, Dr. Pam, as you went on this journey and began to create your business, tell us a little bit about your story. And then, how did you position yourself to help so many women tell their story about what they're doing and shining the light on them?
Think one of the things that I just remember being a real pivotal point of really helping me figure out what my purpose or my passion was magazines.
Yeah,
Back in the day, getting the Jet magazine in the mail
yeah,
every single week. And then when I became a teenager, getting Essence, those were like my lights, I guess you would say. Those were like the beacons because I would read the pages of those magazines and really get inspired. And it would, to the point where, obviously we were doing like vision boards and things like that, and I'm pulling things out, but really the magazines would inspire me, reading the stories of the other women in those magazines, especially things like Essence and Ebony and Jet, all of the Black media, and then eventually wanting to do something like that as well. Because it was like, you know what? These are great women in this magazine. There are other women I'd love to tell their stories too. And that's where it really became. So journalism was the main thing. uh, Helping other people. When you're a journalist, you have to listen more than you talk. So you have to interview people and you have to pull out of them things that they may think it's, that's no big deal. But as a journalist, you're putting it together for a story, for a standpoint of that. And that was really what I learned I was good at, because someone will say, oh, I don't really have a gift or a skill. I don't know what my purpose is. But by talking with them, I can kind of figure out what it is that they shine in better than anyone else. And then basically at that point, I'm helping them promote what it is that they do, because they say, yeah, that is it. That's my thing. That's what I love to talk about. That's my main thing. And it only comes from someone talking to them and pulling that out of them, pulling their purpose out of them. That it's like you said, it's already in them, but they just don't really recognize what it is. A good example is Alicia.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
Alicia Houston is a good example of a
yeah,
person that is a great networker. And it's
yeah.
like, well, how do you put that together with other things? Well, she does, because she knows how to connect the dots. And that's part of her DNA to do that. And that's why she
That's her
does events and that
superpower.
sort of thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is. It's a part of her superpower. She could
Yes.
connect. What's great is that you can recognize um what that person's superpower is,
Hmm.
what that woman's superpower is. And then you begin to work with them to pull
Yeah.
that out. What are some other areas that you really dive in with women to really help them to, I'm gonna read, if you don't mind, y'all, I'm just gonna read this, put my glasses on because I can't read without my glasses. To help them to level up and shine and let's say build their brand and do all of these wonderful, phenomenal things that they're supposed to be doing. You know,
Hmm.
how do you begin that?
Well, one of the main things is confidence. You gotta know your value. You have to know your own worth. It's almost like I have to talk people into, yeah, you got that it factor. You're that girl. And
Yeah.
so really once they kind of get to that point, like, yeah, I am that girl. I have that confidence, and where the confidence comes from of really who they are. It's the core of who they are, and really the God inside of them. Music is one of my favorite things. So, there's a song by Mary Mary that says the God in you, right? It's a God in you. And so I let people to kind of, understand, like, it's not about you. It's really the reason why you're here. And if you don't share it, you're going to really waste it. And we don't want, I think it's Dr. Miles Monroe that says, the most place that is the most expensive place is the graveyard. So you don't want to take your gifts with you. You want to actually share them while you're here. So that's like the first part, really just help selling them on themselves so that they understand, okay, we're going to make this big. Okay, think about this. This is not about you. It's going to be big. Your
Yeah.
story is going to be told. Think of it as in Times Square, in a magazine, on cover magazine, on television, but get ready. So just really having them to understand that they're ready, set, go, and ready to go and speak, but they have to get ready.
Yeah.
That's the main key, that platform.
So I like that. We're about to take a quick break, everyone, but when we come back, we'll speak with Dr. Perry about what does getting ready look like? Because there's two things that you said. Well, getting ready, you have to get ready. What does that look like? And then the second piece is that, that your story really isn't about you. It's about it's about the people that you're put on this earth to serve. And so the most expensive place is the graveyard because many of us die with our stories. But speaking like for me, for example, sometimes it's hard to get out there and tell your story, you know? And so when you speak about getting ready, what does that look like? What does that feel like? How do I even do that? So let's talk about that when we return, and we'll take a quick break. Welcome back to Living a Life by Design with Dr. Esther Graham. I'm so super excited that you've joined us. And listen, if you've just come on, we're celebrating International Women's Day today. So make sure that you are not just celebrating you, but you're celebrating your sister friend, right? You're celebrating, all of the phenomenal women that are in your life, those that have gone before you, that are with you right now, and those that are coming. And Dr. Perry, my guest, Dr. Pam Perry, did something that was really phenomenal. She showed a picture of her mother, and I don't have a picture of mine on me because, yeah, that and it's just so beautiful. Because I'm not at home. I'm, honestly in a hotel room on the West Coast celebrating International Women's Day with a group of lady, Alicia and her ladies. And but I did a video, yeah, Alicia Houston. I did a video few years ago for International Women's Day with my celebrating my mother. And so my mother has gone on to be with the Lord. She's transitioned in 2020. But can I tell you, she was a phenomenal woman. And she is the person that spoke so much into my life, and much of my life is reflective of her life. And so I'm just so grateful for my mother. And so y'all, you've got your mothers, you've got your daughters, aunts, cousins, celebrate them and honor them, not just today, but every day. So when we left with Dr. Pam, we were going to talk about how do you get ready to tell your story, to shine. Because one of the things I know that I struggled with is telling my story, and not just telling it, Dr. Pam, at a surface level, but if you're in any type of in your business, if you are a speaker, you're an entrepreneur of any type in any business, you have to be able, people have to connect with you and people have to get to know you. And so therefore you have to tell your story and be able to tell it, let's say, even at a cellular level. Something
Mhm.
you said is that you have to be ready. So how
Mhm.
do you help women to get ready? What does being ready mean? What does it feel like? What does it look like? What is it?
It's a mindset. It really is. And it really takes some time really getting to know yourself, really having that self-awareness at the peak of what it is that drives you, what is it that motivates you, what is it that lights you up, what is it even that makes you angry. That's a lot of times, that's one of the keys to it. Like, what makes you angry? Because something that makes you angry is something that maybe you're want to change. So it really does take, in my branding accelerator course, Alicia went through it too, is really to understand who you are so that you can pitch yourself to others, so that people will understand how to refer you, how to recommend you by you knowing yourself, and really honing in on that first module of really just understanding your story. It may take some journaling. It may take just really some reflection of what was it that in the past that people always said that, you're really good at this. And then don't shrug it off. It's like, well, people say that you're good at it, and there's more than one, not just your family, not just snap, crackle, and pop, but there's other people that are saying that, you're really good at this. And then take a look at that. And I always tell people too, if you've won any awards of any sort, or there are words of that people always are saying to you, and they're very gracious words, take that into consideration when you're trying to figure out what it is why you're here, what problem you're here to solve, and then really putting that all together into what I call an elevator pitch. When people say, "Who are you?" Like I said, mine was an acronym. I'm here to promote, amplify, and market the messages of people who really are subject matter experts, authors, and speakers. So the more you hone down on who it is that you are, the better it is that you can then promote it, because now you have clarity. So really having clarity is that first part, that first pillar of getting ready. In the Ready, Set, Go, Speak, in my membership, ready is the biggest part of it, because a lot of times we're not ready because we can't articulate what it is that we do, who do we do it for, and what problem we solve. That is really, really key. And a lot of times we are not really authentic with ourselves. Sometimes we're
So
just so,
true, so
what I
true.
call, you know, just, like almost like too self-evasive, and things like that. Oh, anybody can sing. Well, nobody can sing like you. Okay.
Right,
Yeah, there's a lot of
right,
singers. I mean, there's
right.
Nancy Wilson that's a singer, and then there's Beyonce's a singer. They're both singers. So what if Beyonce said, well, there's a lot of singers out there. I'm not gonna sing. You know what I'm saying? So no one
Yeah,
can
yeah,
do it
yeah,
like you. So just having confidence in what it is that you bring. There's a lot of writers, there's a lot of books,
yeah.
but no one's going to write your book. So it's really getting into the mindset of really making people understand their recipe of what makes them unique, their own recipe. It is a lot of different, what I call in a bakery, there's a lot of different types of things in there, but there's only one that's going to be what people are looking for to buy from you.
From
And
you.
that's your
Yeah.
secret sauce. So I
Yeah.
tell people, find your secret sauce. That's your brand. And then from there we can promote it. Because I can't tell you what your brand is. You got to figure that out. That's your ready
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
Once you figure
Yeah.
that out, then we could go and we could tell everybody and we can put it everywhere. We can
Yeah.
post it, we can share it, we can get you on television, radio, and magazines. But you gotta know what it is that you gotta know you.
So I heard you say that. So you actually begin to work with people in the, let's say, in getting ready. You've got a course that you
Mhm.
offer for that
They have
really goes
workbooks.
through. They've got
Mhm.
workbooks that really helps them to, you
Pull
know,
it out.
pull it out. And
Mhm.
is the word excavate just kind of,
Yes, that's it. That
yeah,
is it. That's really it. Because
yeah,
they have to go through a lot of things defining what it is. Because no one's gonna tell you. You've got to do it. You've got to
yeah.
excavate. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And to really pull it out. So you've got this get ready course, or it's called, tell us the name of the course
The
again.
course is actually called the Brand Accelerator course, and that's what Alicia went through. And that's in the
Okay.
Ready, Set, Go Speak community, which is a year-long program where we're together for a year. We're supporting and endorsing and just really helping each other. But they go through the course so that they can know how to do all of the things that they need in order to go out and speak and get media. It's like a PR and branding club. So we're in there for a year, but the course itself has 12 modules that is about maybe each one is about an hour and a half long. It comes with
Okay.
different workbooks and things like that. But that first part, people want to just zip through that part. Oh, I know myself. I just want to get on TV. It's like no, because we need messaging. So you do
Right.
have to go back to module one. Okay, you have to go back to that workbook, fill it out, and this part is like telling your story because it's the basis of all the other things. A publicist can't promote you if I don't have a story, a clear story,
Right.
who it
So
is that you want to be. Mhm.
so in those in working with the people, then you're basically helping them to tell their story of who they really are. Do you spend a lot of time with them doing that?
Yeah, yeah. We have a whole year. We're together. We have a whole year that we're together, and we're in there all the time because when they go through the course, they may have questions, but really understanding who they are. Because if I say, okay, here's a media outlet, they're looking for someone, I would know because of the pitches that maybe they have said that this is for them. If they don't know what it is, who they are, or I am putting so much information, different media opportunities, different speaking opportunities. You have to know which ones to go for. If not, you will be overwhelmed. So just really hypering in on what it is that you do, who you do it for, and what type of places you want to speak or media you want to be on. That's key because there's so much. So
Yeah,
if you know that, say, for instance, I'm a DEI person and
right.
I want to just speak on this into corporations, then that's fine. Then that's you. So if I put something up here about this is women's ministry, that's probably not going to be you. Okay. So don't go for that one. Don't go for that opportunity. They're looking for speakers that are going to speak on this topic. So you have to know you and then being able to say no so that you can get to the more yeses. Because everybody wants to say yes to everything and then they
Yeah.
don't get anything.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Everybody wants to say yes to everything and then they don't get anything.
Nope.
What I'd like to talk about a little bit is even in the getting ready, the authenticity of what you're speaking. One of the things that I love about with your magazine is that when I'm reading through and the different speakers that you have on the front page and then reading the information of the other speakers inside. I
Mm-hmm.
love
Mm-hmm.
how they're sharing and I love what they're doing. And they come from all walks of life.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say it's an African American publication, and I would say a lot of the women that are in there are very educated, like multiple degrees,
Yeah.
certifications. The most Black women are, when I tell you, they have so many degrees and letters behind their name, and high pedigree schools, and this and that. I'm like, oh my God, I mean, we're just talking like the civil rights era just happened in the 60s, right?
Right.
Like it's this within
Yeah.
this 50 years, we're at the top. it's just amazing. This young lady here, she's a Black Door Society. This is like what they call a takeover issue. These are all the women, some of the women in her organization. But she's on Sirius XM radio. She has a skincare line. She just launched in Dubai. She does an organization. She does does community service. I mean, 30 years in AKA. I mean, just that's just one. I was like, we got a whole list of things that you are that I'm looking at all of the accolades of everything, and
Right.
that's just one. And I just always say that it's just so amazing to see women, because they'll say, well, I don't know how that connects. It's like, no, tell it to me, tell it to your publicist. I can see how it connects. This is how we're going to do it.
Yeah, yeah. What I love what you said is it's an African American publication that's
Mhm.
highlighting
Mhm.
African American women.
Mhm.
And I think that's so important because it's necessary for us to see each other,
Yes. Yes.
right?
It really
Um,
is.
to
It really
know,
is. Yeah.
honestly, yeah, that we're not second-class citizens, that we are doing powerful things, that we're not alone in this world, because sometimes, depending on where we are, we feel very much alone. It's
Oh, yeah.
also important for our young girls so they
Mhm.
can see the examples and say, I can do this because there's a person that looks like me that has done this or is doing it as well. And so to really focus on that and focus on the power that they're bringing to the forefront,
Yes, that was
right?
intentional. That was very intentional on my part, because people
Yeah.
always ask, why do you do just only African Americans and spotlight them? I said, well, do you know the history of African Americans here in America? I'm not going to be unapologetic about that. I mean, it's time, don't you think?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And definitely not being unapologetic about, and it's not that you won't serve other women, but many times in the other fields, everybody's being served.
Oh,
And
yeah,
many
they already
times,
have their thing.
yeah, many
Yeah.
times African American women are overlooked.
Or the always the first, I talked to a woman yesterday. She says, I was the first woman in this type of position, or I was the only one that was in this boardroom. I'm the only one. I'm the first. I'm the only. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
we need to have that as a normal, that we are always going to be in those rooms and those kind of things. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what we've been speaking about this entire week, is saying, we've got to be not the only ones in the room,
Yeah.
not the only ones at the board, at
Right at
sitting
the
at the
table.
board, um, or in the CEO meetings. Many times we're the only ones when there should be more like us there. I think about my daughter who, is a physician, and, many times she's the only one. And she says many times in the hospital, there's no other African American nurses or anything, no other, doctor, maybe one, maybe, and so we're not enough. And so
And we don't see each other. Yeah,
we
we
don't
need to
see each
see each
other.
other.
And so we don't know, number one, that there's more like us out there, because there is. And even if we may know, it's always that question, is there somebody else needs to know?
Hmm. That's it.
Somebody
That
else
is
needs to
it.
know that, oh yeah, you can do this,
And
because
that's
yeah, that's powerful. We'll come back and talk about that some more. We're about to go on a break. See you in a few minutes. Welcome back to Living a Life by Design. Cheers to all of you phenomenal, phenomenal women on International Women's Day. And by the way, March, as you guys know, is Women's History Month. And someone said to me, as when we always have the different months that we celebrate particular groups, it shouldn't just be for 1 month, it should be always. And this is so true. We should always be celebrating women. It should be in our DNA. We should always be celebrating ourselves. However, this is the time that we really focus. It's kind of like when it's your birthday. For me, I celebrate my birthday all the time, but on the day, I really focus on
big deal.
that day, or in that month. I really celebrate that month. Does that make sense? And so here we are, we're celebrating Women's History Month today, specifically International Women's Day. But what's great about this is we have Dr. Pam Perry here, and with a powerful conversation. And when we left, we began to speak about how her magazine, the Speakers Magazine, focuses is an African American magazine, and she brings to the forefront powerful African American women. And one of the reasons we talked about is that sometimes we feel ignored,
Yes,
you know,
we do.
and so that this is why this is important. So I want you to speak to us a little bit more about that. We feel ignored, and what is it that you do, what you're doing to bring that to the forefront, not just for the powerful women today, but it's so necessary. You spoke of your daughter, so necessary for them to see that, because the generation that we are building will no longer be ignored.
Right.
And
Exactly.
by the way, and that's just not in African American women. That's in all women, by the way. That's in all women, regardless of your race, your culture, and anything. But her magazine focuses on African American women. And so that's what we're going to talk about. It's important because many times our young people are the ones who don't see
Hmm.
people
One of
like
my
them.
one of
Yes,
my role models growing up was always Susan Taylor.
yes,
Susan Taylor, and even before that was Marsha Ann Gillespie, which was one of the original editor-in-chiefs of Essence. But
yes,
Susan was there the longest as editor-in-chief and started out as a fashion and beauty editor. And I loved her story. If anyone knows Susan Taylor, her story was that one day she just was broke, busted, and disgusted, and actually went into a church. She had just gotten divorced, had a child, and didn't know really what to do. And God just, she felt like giving up, and God led her into a church, and she heard Reverend Ike preaching, and really was preaching about empowerment and God, but she had never heard it in that way.
yes,
And it was like basically saying that, you have the power within you to do whatever it is you want to do. Pick up your dreams, dust yourself off. There's power in you. And she said something in her just rose up. And she said she shouldn't even been in the church. She had on jeans, she was looking sad, but something in her just rose up, and she really started going after her dreams. She went to go work for Essence. At that point, I think it was something like $30 a week. It was just really nothing, but she stayed there for a good duration and rose up to editor-in-chief. And now she's the iconic Susan
yes,
L. Taylor, right? And the thing that I just remember is just following her journey through that, hearing her story, knowing I would read when I get the magazine every single month. I used to always go and read In the Spirit, because that
yes,
was what her
yes,
part of the story was. And I just had an opportunity to meet her a couple of times and just tell her how much she has impacted me. And I think it's important that other Black women tell other Black women how much they've impacted them from afar. We do that obviously in our families. We say that to our parents, but you want to say other women. It could be Kamala Harris, it could be Michelle Obama.
yes,
What we're looking at them from afar, because we know that they went through a whole lot of stuff. I know Michelle, growing up in Chicago and then having to go to Ivy League school, what she had to go through. I mean, just when she did the Becoming tour, I was there in the front seat listening to her, and to talk about her ordeals that she was dealing with being in the White House, being the first African American as a in the White House. And those kind of things are, it's not that it hasn't been that long. When I tell my daughter, I said it hasn't been that long where Black people could have the right to vote, where Black
yes,
people could do certain things. I said it hasn't been that long. I
yes,
said, this is the generation that I remember. Like there were two fountains, right? White and colored. Okay. So we're talking like my if I go back a generation, not just my grandmother who had a sixth grade education, but her mother before her had just come out of slavery. So we're talking like just that, right? So I'm just saying that at this point, so yes, so I don't want Black women to feel ignored, like they're the first ones there, and we don't really know how to maneuver in those areas. I mean, my mother was a housewife, and she worked a little bit as a secretary. I will say a little fun fact about my mom, though. My mom was a jet centerfold back in the day. She was. I found that it was like, I was like, you didn't tell me that. She says, I was like, I didn't really find it out till like she was later. But anyway, the thing of it is that we need to pull ourselves out of really feeling so much victimized,
right,
because obviously, we came here from off of the slave ship. So obviously there's some big, I'm not saying that we came here by choice, but at a certain point in time, now we've got to rise up. You know, there's a song Rise Up. I can't think of the name of it. I think it's
Yeah.
Common or whatever, but Rise Up. Oh no, it's Audrey Day.
Yeah.
Rise up. And so those are the things where I'm just saying, okay, we've passed that. We're good. We've got things that we've got to share and show. We got to make up time. We got to make up time, lost time. Right. So at this point in time, I want my daughter and all other young African American girls to really feel inspired and say, yes, I can do that. I remember that was it Hidden Figures? I love that movie.
Yeah.
Remember that movie,
Yeah.
Hidden?
Oh yeah. Oh
Oh
yeah.
my God. Or The Great Debaters. Those
Yeah.
are the little stories that I think about. I was like, those are little segments of stories, and they made big movies about it. I said, but there's so many stories like that. So many
So
stories.
many, so many, so many stories, so many stories.
Hmm.
And being able to tell the story, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so, again, as I said earlier, I love looking at the magazines because the speakers mag, because I get to see, it's like, oh wow, look at this, or
Yeah,
oh wow.
they're just like you. You know, I would say they're
And
just like you. There's
that's what's
yes,
amazing. That's what's
yes.
amazing. It's like I look
Mhm.
and I say, these are women just like me,
Yep.
you
Doing it.
know, that are
Doing the thing.
they're
Yeah.
doing the thing. They're out there and they're changing lives.
They really are. And I think one of the things that I want when I'm doing my promotions and things like that, when I'm dealing especially with Black women, is that
Yeah.
I don't want them to feel like they are believing their own hype, that
Yeah.
they're doing it for ego purposes. They're
Right.
doing it
Right.
to inspire, like Susan L. Taylor did it to
Yes.
inspire. You're leaving a legacy. You don't know what kind of things, if you don't tell the story, how it will impact someone else so that
Yeah.
they can go further. That's the whole thing. I said, don't get involved in that the ego part of it, the hype part. Oh, I'm just posting pictures on Instagram and da da da. No, no, no. We're telling a story. Okay, we're actually giving your a voice to your brand,
Yeah.
and that's important. That's the part of the journalism that I want people to understand. That's the power of the press. That's the power of media. You're
Yeah.
telling the long form story in newspapers, magazine, digital, those kind of things. Those are the stories. It's great to have great pictures. We all love photo shoots,
Yeah.
but we got to tell a story. And if you can get on video live, that's fine too. You could do your own podcast, television show, and that kind of thing. So I always tell people, make sure that people understand your voice and that you're the one really controlling your narrative. So you do it. And if you don't know how to do it, then learn how to do it,
Learn how to do
by
it.
getting some training.
Yeah. And you're also, if you don't like your story right now, or let's say the story that you're currently living in, you also have the power to change the story.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You can change the narrative. You
Mm-hmm.
could add
Mm-hmm.
some different ingredients
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
that cake that's being baked. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so if you're a person that's saying, well, I did all these things, I've got all these, I did, but I'm just stuck right now. I don't know what to do, and all of these different things. It's you that have the power to change that
Yeah.
story. Unlike
Yeah.
what Susan Taylor did when she sat there and she said, wait a minute, I do have the power. There's greatness within me. I was created with that. God put me on this earth. When he created me, he put greatness in me. I've got that.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the power to sit and do it. What I also want to add here is that no matter where you are as a woman or as a person in your life, there's always greatness in you. You just have to make a decision as to what you're going to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to discover or rediscover it?
I remember a young lady, Melissa Butler from Detroit. She the lip bar, and she does lipstick. And
Yeah.
basically, she went on Shark Tank and failed. She was embarrassed. They basically told her, "This is who would buy this lipstick, this vegan lipstick, and who would buy these colors, and da da da, this and that." And they basically told her, this is a stupid idea. And Melissa, bright eyed, went on television and basically got berated by the sharks on Shark Tank. But what she did is she turned that pain into power. And she
Mhm.
was like, you know what? In her mind, it starts there in the mental part. She says, you know what? He doesn't understand, or they don't understand my market. I'm a Black woman. I understand my market. And if you go to the lip bars in Detroit, it's in every Target, it's all over the place. It's a multi-million-dollar company. She's employing other women. She's empowering. She's doing the darn thing. Okay. She
Yeah,
went to HBCU. She's from Detroit. She went to Cass Tech. I mean, so I'm giving a shout out here, but Melissa is
what's the
doing
name
it.
of her? What's the name of her lipstick? What's
The lip bar,
the lip bar? Okay,
the lip
yeah,
bar.
yeah,
The lip bar.
yeah,
That is her thing. And it inspires other people. Like, even though someone may tell you no, don't stop. If it's a dream that God gave you, then keep going and just try it a different way. And
yeah.
she did. She put in the work and she did the thing. And she left her job on Wall Street. She was doing her lip stuff at her kitchen table. Same thing with Gwen Jameer. She had a hair care. Naturalicious is her thing. She started at her kitchen table. It always was birthed out of pain and almost desperation. Again, she was divorced. It's small child, and she was like, I got to make this work. And again, she's multi-million-dollar from Detroit. Gwen is doing the thing, and is it easy? No, but they know to do one thing sequentially, one thing at a time, and keep believing in themselves. They have other women that have inspired them. I mean, she was probably inspired by Johnson Products or Proline, any other Black hair care products that were, or Carol's Daughter. They
Yeah,
can see other women doing it. I remember the first time reading about Carol's Daughter in a magazine. I was
yeah.
like, wow,
I remember that.
so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's just being inspired by someone who looks like you is so important.
Very
So
important.
important. And then to be mentored by them, even if it's being mentored them from afar or joining their membership program, but you glean from people who will help pull you forward,
Yeah,
like you with Alicia, someone
yeah,
who will see something in you and pull you, and
yeah,
you collaborate and partner and make things happen,
yeah,
and don't let people tell you no just because they can't see your vision. Well, they can't.
yeah.
It's your vision.
It's your vision, so they're not supposed to see it. It's like if I heard someone use the analogy, it's like if I give you my eyeglasses, you can't see out of my glasses,
Ooh, right.
you
No
know,
matter how close
because
we could be
friends.
as friends, I
Yeah,
just can't see out of your glasses.
yeah, yeah. So of course, we're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Living a Life by Design. So glad that you're here. Cheers to you. Cheers to you. We're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Pam Perry. So, Dr. Pam, tell me, out of all of the magazines that you've done, and I know that all of them are your favorites, but tell me which was the one was like, oh man, this is like, mm,
Well, this one, I'm gonna say this one because this one was 40 pages, almost 50 pages. The other ones are smaller, they're about 16 pages, but
yeah,
this one was one of my favorite because it was a Speak Sell Shine. It was our cohort.
okay,
And it was the one that actually was the first one on a billboard in Times Square. And so I would say this was probably my favorite one because all of these people were like graduates, I guess you would say, of the cohort. And it was 40 pages. It took a lot. It was in December of last year. Uh, yeah. So this one was a chore to really put together because it was, but all the pictures actually came from the press club. So they were all at the National Press Club. And so the photos came from there. So I was actually there with them. And then their speaker reels were done at the press club as well. So
nice, nice.
the format is that their pictures are in there and then we embed videos. Well, I was there for the pictures,
Yeah,
right? I was there for the pictures and I actually was there for their videos. So their videos were embedded, their sizzle reels were there, and their photos were there. So I would say that's probably the one because I was more hands-on and they were all consistent. Whereas this one, I love this one as well because I know the photographer from this, Giselle
yeah.
actually was a photographer for that. And then I love the photos of all these because I know the people, I know Esther, I know Melissa. So these are the
And
ones that I love.
Melissa, yeah.
Yes, yes. So I wasn't here for these photos, but I knew to put them together, like feature, and, those are the things, you got those things. So I know the women. So the women on the cover, I know the women on the inside, I know, whether it's this person here, so you kind of, for each one, it has its theme, it has its own different themes. Some of them are like with authors or the speakers and that kind of thing. So they all have their, this one was one where women boss up in Vegas. So one of my other favorites was my pastor was on the cover of one, Dr. Stacia Pierce. I don't have that one right here, but she was on. So that was important because I've been under her teachings for about 20 years. So she was on the
Right.
cover for when
Yeah.
she turned double nickels last year. So
Yeah.
she was on the cover of that one. But yeah, it's each one has its own. You birth a baby, and they're all
Right.
your favorite.
Right.
But I think this one, because it was the biggest one, this was the biggest one to birth because it was 40 pages. So it was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. A lot.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot.
So that was it. And then we had the billboard. So that was cool too. And she actually went to New York and actually stood in front of her billboard and took a picture.
Oh,
So
nice.
I didn't go to New York to see it. She did. And I was like, ooh, New York in December. I said, I'd
Yeah,
love to
very
go.
cold. Trust me. I live
And
in
she's from
Delaware.
Texas. So shit was
Yeah,
cold for her.
yeah.
She was freaking out.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. So, what are three things? So, tell me three things that you could tell our listeners that they can do to immediately, let's say, begin to shine, and then tell us how they can connect with you as well.
I would say one of the main things is to study and know that PR and marketing, even though it looks easy, it really is an art and a science. So to take it seriously, to read books, to do courses, to get coaching, mentorship, those kind of things. One of my things that I have a podcast called Get Out There, Get Known. I mean, so I post information in LinkedIn and my newsletter and things like that. So take it very seriously. It's changing all the time. It's, to really shine and get out there is more than just posting and ghosting on social media. You really have to understand the whole process and the strategy behind it. The main thing too, I would say, is to take your brand seriously, learn how to pull together a brand. So when I'm saying branding, there's a young lady by the name of Yolanda M. Smith that talks about branding that helps you with the visual part of it, but also the internal brand. Like, how do you want to be positioned in your personal brand? Whether you're working in a corporate job or you have a business, you still have a brand. So those are the kind of things to really take it seriously and learn technology. Learn technology, spend some time with it. It's always changing. Don't be afraid of it. Learn how to do simple things on your own or hire a good virtual assistant is really, really important. People can always connect with me, PamPerryPR.com. If they go there, they can download a video. It tells you about the 7 things that the media looks for when they want to book a guest. So it's 7 things, actually more, but I didn't want to overwhelm people. But it's 7 things that the media wants when they're trying to book you. And most people do not have those 7 things. They don't even have 3 things. So that's why they don't get on television.
All right. So you guys, wealth of information. Dr. Pam, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate all of you. You guys will be seeing her again. We're going to be sure to have her back again. In the meantime, connect with me on fddwomen.com. You can reach me there. You can get the podcast there as well. My Dubai retreat is coming up May 4th through the 11th. I'm not sure if we have any spots left, but listen, you could always ask the question. It is going to be a phenomenal retreat in Dubai, all inclusive, y'all. So I'm super excited, super excited about that. And of course, my live event is coming up in June. So I cannot wait to see you there. I will give you more information, but mark your calendars, June 27th, 28th, and 29th. Let's get together. Let's learn from each other. Let's empower each other. I love you. Let's begin to live our lives by design, or let's begin to redesign our lives. God bless you. Take care.
You have been listening to Living a Life by Design, the journey back to you, and living 365 days of purpose with host Esther Graham. Listen or watch live every second and fourth Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Discover that what is possible is already in you. God designed a phenomenal life for you. Esther helps you ignite that energy behind your personal journey for a deeper joy and peace, living 365 days of purpose. For more information on living a life by design, visit fddwomen.com.